And check this out. This is the LST-325. Right now, it is docked in Muscatine. It's the only World War II ship of its kind that's still in operation. It's called a landing ship tank and typically carried 20 tanks and 30 military vehicles. Only about 1,000 LSTs were built during World War II. This particular one was used during D-Day at Omaha Beach in France. The end of the ship can drop open, which allows tanks to drive straight out and onto an enemy beach. Now, long after the war, this ship was eventually restored by a dedicated group of veterans and volunteers. And today, it's a museum ship based typically in Evansville, Indiana for most of the year. But for 1 month a year, it goes on a cruise and visits towns all over the country. And in less than half an hour, coming up at 5 o'clock tonight, there will be a United We Remember memorial on Muscatine's riverfront. Plus, you can tour this ship tomorrow all the way through Monday before it takes off again. So we are honored to be joined by Cory Burdette, Museum Operations Coordinator with the LST-325. Cory, thank you so much for being here with us today. I gotta ask, how many people do you think this ship impacted during World War II?
It impacted a lot of people because here in Evansville, one of the main reasons this LST is here is we built them here. We made the most out of any shipyard in the United States. We made 167 LSTs in just about 3 years. And there was up to about 20,000 employees that were working on those shipyards 24/7 to make those LSTs,
Wow.
including around 48% were women. And then once you consider that they had a crew of 110, including 18 officers, and we also carried up to over 200 troops at one time, that's potentially thousands upon thousands of people that could have been affected just by this one LST alone. And like you mentioned earlier, there was over 1,000 LSTs that were made in World War II. And at D-Day, for instance, there was over 200 LSTs that were used at D-Day alone during the course of the operation.
Well, I'm glad you brought up D-Day. You know, we know this ship was at Omaha Beach. What other battles did this ship play a role in during World War II?
So this LST was also part of the Sicily and Salerno invasions of 1943, and she made 44 trips back and forth across the English Channel until the end of the war. And going to every single beach except Sword was the only one we didn't go to. But we were carrying fresh troops and supplies, vehicles, everything into France, and then bringing back wounded soldiers and German POWs or prisoners of war back over to England.
Cory, we're looking at some photos right now that you had sent over. These are actual photos of LST-325 during the war. All the equipment that's on the ship today that people could see in Muscatine, is that all original to this ship?
Most of it. I would argue about 90 to 95% of what you're going to see is from World War II. However, due to the fact that we still use it as a vessel and people live on it and everything, of course, they're going to have things that we know of today, like air conditioning, TVs, stuff like that it didn't have back then. But still, at the same time, a lot of what you're going to see is original to the ship back in World War II.
I mean, it just seems remarkable that it can still not only float, but come all the way to Muscatine. How often, we said a month, do you guys go out on these cruises? Where do you guys all go?
We have gone to a variety of places. We have gone down into Tennessee, so we've been down to like Chattanooga, around over there. We've been down into, well, actually, at first when it came back to the United States from Greece in 2001, it arrived in Mobile Bay, which is potentially what we're considering for next year, because that would be 25 years that it has come back to the United States. So we're still debating and talking and getting everything ready for that, but potentially that's what the goal might be.
Well,
we've been down all the way.
Oh, I'm sorry, Cory. I was going to say, if people take a tour on this ship this weekend, is there something about touring the LST-325 that maybe surprises people when they go on it?
I guess the one thing that they think about is probably just how big it is. Because the ship, especially on the inside, where we held the 20 tanks, we name it Tank Deck, but the tank deck itself is over 200 feet long, and the ship itself is 320 feet long, roughly about the size of a collegiate football field, or if you want to think a little bit bigger, around a third of the size of the Titanic.
Wow. So what lessons do you hope people take away from a visit to the 325?
One of the things we say in the crew a lot, especially around on ship, is come walk the decks of history. because that's what you're doing. Whenever you come out onto the ship, you're walking where these heroes walked. And it's really, really cool from a worker standpoint, seeing how that can impact people. From people, for instance, if there's people that have never met a relative that served on an LST, but this is a chance for them to connect to that relative in no other way that they probably could have. Or in some ways, it's like with veterans when they're coming out, that there are veterans who have served on LSTs. And this is a chance for them to come back home and relive some of those memories. And sometimes that can be kind of hard, but at the same time, it's also kind of gratifying and might even give a little bit of closure for some of those guys. And I'm just honored to be able to be a part of it.
Wow. Well, Cory, we are honored to have your time today. Thank you so much for being here with us and chatting with us about this incredible ship. I can't wait. I think I'm going to try to go on this weekend. Cory, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
If you guys at home want to learn more about this ship or plan your tour this weekend, you can find those details at WQAD.com underneath the As Seen on TV tab.